Welcome to lesson 12 of the Untangled Blueprint. The one where we become the ringmasters of our relationships. So we've learned from our previous boundaries lessons so far that relationships are the foundation of most of our lives. Think about it. If you have relationships at work, at home, in your family, with neighbors, with friends, with spouses, with kids, right? It's most of our time. Every single place you go is surrounded by relationships of varying degrees. Relationships influence nearly every aspect of our lives. That's why it's so important to realize that these same relationships have played a huge part in how we got all tangled up in the first place, whether it's through unmet expectations or lack of boundaries or unhealthy dynamics. Relationships have been pivotal. They can either help us create upward momentum toward better feeling thoughts like happiness, joy, satisfaction, hope, even wonder, or they can just as easily pull us down below the line into those not so good feelings of hate and resentment and anger and disappointment. Relationships have a huge power over whether or not we can and will create the feel good life that we all long for so very much. Here are some powerful insights to consider about relationships. Studies show that relationships are one of the most significant sources of stress in our lives. Experts suggest that 70% of our stress stems from relationship dynamics, whether it's at home, at work, or within our social circles. Happiness is built on connection. The longest running Harvard study ever on adult development revealed that healthy relationships are the number one key to happiness and longevity. It's not health, it's not wealth, it's not fame. It is literally connection with other human beings. End of life reflections have shown that when people look back on their lives, their biggest regrets center on relationships. There was a really famous study done of all these hospice patients that found that all of them wish they had nurtured the most important relationships in their lives. It was the top regret that they had before they died. And for health and well being, it's shown that poor relationships or a lack of meaningful connections don't just take an emotional toll on us, they actually impact your physical health. Loneliness is as harmful to your body as smoking 15 cigarettes a day and increases the risk of early death by 26%. So, if relationships have the power to influence our happiness, our stress, and our health so profoundly as that, doesn't it make sense that they're also where we have to start a lot of our untangling? By taking a closer look at the dynamics of our relationships, we can start to identify what's working and what isn't, and what needs to change. Here's the key. Thriving relationships need a few essential elements to survive, adapt, and flourish. First is awareness, recognizing that relationships exist and are more complex than exactly what state our current relationships are in and how they impact us is super important. But guess what? You're here. You're listening to this workshop. So, congratulations. You are well on your way to this level of awareness that's necessary as the first step of creating change. The next one is understanding. That is gaining the tools and insights to navigate relationships in a healthy and more intentional way. And that too is what these workshops are designed to give you. So again, pat on the back, congratulations. Then there's communication. Well, we just learned in previous lessons that communication is the most critical skill for expressing your needs and setting boundaries and fostering the types of connection that we're all craving. And luckily for you, we dove into that head first as we explored the Be Clear method and we helped with mastering the art of assertive communication. So you see, you're on your way. And then comes balance. Through the porcupine analogy, you saw that what happens when balance is lost, right? Relationships can become suffocating or painful. They can force us to withdraw or disconnect entirely. And that's not the outcome we want, but it's a reality when we don't honor our boundaries and maintain healthy dynamics. But today we're adding the final key, which is flexibility. Relationships require flexibility because relationships themselves are flexible. They're constantly growing, shifting, and evolving just like we are. And this is why flexibility is such a critical component of creating healthy, thriving relationships. Flexibility allows us to adapt to these changes while staying true to our values, those guiding lights that keep us grounded no matter how complicated our life gets. So, today I want to introduce you to a new tool that will help you navigate the complexities of your relationships with flexibility. It's called the Relationship Rings, and it's designed to help you visually map out your relationships, assess where people currently fit in your life, and decide what adjustments, if any, are necessary to your current relationships. Okay, so what are relationship rings? Well, by now you're familiar with the concept of personal boundaries. These are the guidelines or rules or limits that we create to define what's reasonable, what's safe, and what's permissible to us. They help us decide how much access someone has to our time, our energy, and our emotional resources. And they help us to figure out how we're going to respond when someone crosses those limits, right? You got to love boundaries. But boundaries don't exist in isolation. They're tied directly to something called intimacy, which is simply the feeling of closeness that we share with any other person. Intimacy isn't limited to romantic relationships. It can apply to any single relationship that we have, whether it's with a friend or a family member or even a colleague or a coworker. Here's the thing, different relationships require different levels of intimacy. You don't share the same level of closeness with your mailman that you do with your best friend, and you shouldn't. This is where the relationship rings come in. So, the relationship rings are a tool that were inspired by psychological frameworks that use these concentric circles of intimacy to categorize your relationships based on their closeness to you and the level of access people have to your time, energy, and resources. So at the center of these rings is you. This is the most important relationship in your entire life, the one you have with yourself. And then we move outward in these rings, and you can see that each ring represents a different level of intimacy. It goes from you to your core crew, which is your closest, most trusted people in your life, to abundant acquaintances and even unlimited unfamiliars, which are strangers who exist in the periphery of your social world. And there's a bunch of different categories in between. These rings are going to help you identify where people currently fit in your life, assess the dynamics of those relationships, and decide what boundaries you might need to protect your peace and well being, and if people are in the ring that they actually belong and deserve to be in. So here's the beauty of the relationship rings. They're not fixed. People can actually move closer to you over time or further away, depending how the relationship evolves. For example, when a relationship becomes unbalanced, like when someone is draining your resources without giving back, you might decide to move them outward to protect your energy. And when a relationship deepens, like when trust is built and intimacy grows, you might choose to bring someone closer into your core crew. This flexibility is vital because relationships are dynamic. They require constant adjustment because they are constantly adjusting. That's going to prevent resentment and suffocation and overwhelm. All those things that pull us off our dock. And speaking of docks, remember, your boundaries are the barriers that you put up on your dock to keep you stable, secure, and grounded so that other people, through their actions or their words, can't knock you off and into the water. But we need flexibility in these boundaries, or we can miss out on a lot of fun things that are happening off of our docks, on other docks, or out in the horizon beyond what we can see. And we need flexibility too, because as we grow stronger in our own self awareness, we can become more stable on our own docks. And then the things that used to pull us off might not have that kind of power of us anymore. What we used to see as a huge threat now might be just a simple wave that we know how to navigate. So the relationship rings are a tool that are going to help you recognize who might be creating the waves and how to set boundaries that ensure your safety on your dock. They're going to guide you in deciding how close someone should be or how far they might need to be moved at any given time to prevent their energy from pushing you into the water, into those lower levels of emotions of frustration and anger and overwhelm and fear where we feel like we're drowning. We don't want to live below that line anymore. And these rings are going to be one of the greatest tools that you have to help you identify the sources that contribute to being pulled down into the basement so that you can come up with the best possible solutions to climb back up the stairs and get back on your dock. All right. So the rings themselves. So, like I already said, ring number one at the center is you. And that's the most important ring in the entire framework. You are the heart of your own relationship rings because this is where it all begins. Because every other relationship in your life flows outward from the relationship you have with yourself. Let me ask you this. What do you expect from you in a relationship? If you were your one and only best friend, how would you show up for yourself? The best cheerleader who believes in you, even on your hardest day. The best guide who helps you trust your instincts and navigate challenges with clarity and wisdom. The best motivator who encourages you to take bold steps towards your goals and your dreams. The one that shows up for you every single time, doing what you promised you would do for yourself. So, this is the first ring of the foundation of a feel good life, the version of you that acts with love and compassion and courage. And to show up as the best version of you, you have to manage the fears, the limiting beliefs, and the negative self talk that try to pull you off your dock and into the waves. So, take a minute to reflect. Are you showing up for yourself in a way that's worthy of being at the center of your ring? Can you put your name down at that center? Do you speak to yourself with the same kindness and encouragement that you'd give to your closest friend? Do you take care of your body and your mind and your spirit in a way that honors your worth? Do you trust yourself to make decisions aligned with your values and vision for your life? If so, go ahead and write your name down in the center next to your little smiley face. And if not, start to work on those things so that you know that at the core, the very center of your relationship rings stands the strongest ring ever possible. All right, so we're going to move out one ring from there and we're going to go to what I like to call your core crew. So these are the people that are closest to you. These are the people that know you on the deepest level and show up for you no matter what. These are the people that you trust the most, you rely on in tough times, and who see you for who you truly are. Take a minute to think about the people in your life who fit this description. You're going to write them down on your list. Who belongs in your core crew? Who knows all your fears and your struggles and your triumphs? Who will take the late night phone call, show up without hesitation, and say, I'm on my way, no questions asked? Who's going to be willing to have tough conversations with you? The ones that lead to better growth and deeper connection. These are the ones that get the big full body hugs when you see them, not just the polite one arm pats on the back or the quick side hugs. These are the people that you really embrace with your whole heart because they make you feel safe, seen, and valued. All right, so how do you define your core crew? Who truly sees you and supports you without judgment? Think of the people that pop into your mind and then write their names down. Who are the people you can be completely honest and vulnerable with, knowing that they'll still have your back no matter what? Write down those names. Are there people you turn to for advice and clarity or just a listening ear when life feels really overwhelming? They might be part of your core crew. Who truly sees you and supports you without judgment? Who are the people that mean the absolute most to you? Your core crew is small, but they are powerful. These are the people who you can count on for a big emotional support when you need it, the encouragement or the support, the ones who can give you all the support you need to help you keep going. Your core crew doesn't show up for you in a moment of crisis. They actually know the details of your life. They know what makes you tick, what fuels your fire, and what holds you back. They help you see the parts of yourself you can't always access on your own. For example, two of my core crew people will tell you completely different things. One of my closest friends will call me and say, please tell me if I'm being unreasonable. And she does it because she trusts me to be honest and fair with her. She knows that I'm going to be honest and tell her if she's being unreasonable. I'm going to call her out on her bullshit, right? I am there to be her best friend and to help her. And I'm not going to lie. I have another friend who calls me and says, help me see the me I can't get to right now, right? She does this work and she knows that I can see the big picture and I can guide her back to her best self with her feel good life in mind. These kind of connections are priceless. It's really important to remember that your core crew has to be a two-way street. These relationships should be mutually supportive. If you're constantly giving without receiving, it can create imbalance and leave you feeling emotionally drained. Just like we learned from the cell analogy when our cells really suffocate each other. Take a moment to reflect. Are there people in your core crew that you just wrote down who don't treat you like you're in theirs? Are you showing up for your core crew the way you expect people to show up for you in yours? Are there people relying on you as part of their core crew, but you know you could not rely on them the same way? If so, how does that make you feel? Make a mental note of it. Grab your worksheet and plot the names of the people who you think belong in this ring. These are the ones who know you best, who you can count on without hesitation. You can call at 2 a.m. and say, meet me somewhere, or bring a shovel, and they're not asking a single question. They are on their way. The people who give and receive your love and support in equal measure. Be honest. This exercise is about awareness and honesty. It's not about judgment or criticism. It's really about recognizing the dynamics that you have at play right now in your relationships so that you can work to create more balance and make sure that your core crew remains a source of strength and not one that drains you. All right. Now that your core crew is filled in, those are your ride or die bitches. Let's move outward in the rings, and we're going to move to the next ring called the friendly few. And that ring has the F word in it, not the F word that we're all thinking of, the other word, friend. I say it like that because we throw the word friend around just as easily as some of us drop the F bomb. But here's the thing, many of the people we casually call friends don't actually belong in this ring. That's why I like to call this group the friendly few. These are your real friends. And for most of us, there aren't a ton of them that would show up at our house for a Super Bowl party and not just bring a bag of chips and leave at halftime. They're the ones that are going to stay and help you clean up afterwards while sharing another glass of wine and catching up on what you've missed. These are the friends that might know your kids' birthdays or even be friends with your parents on Facebook and know their names. These are the few people that you know enough in their lives and that they know enough about your life, not everything, but a good overview and a few cringy secrets that they belong in this friendship circle. While this friendly few is more expansive than the limited number of people in the core crew, it still contains quality over quantity. These are the people who you may not talk to all the time, but you know are there when you need them. These are the people that are going to give you a hug, maybe even a kiss on the cheek, especially if you're Italian like me. And when the situation calls for it, you're going to get that extra squeeze that says it's going to be okay. Or I really missed you, an extra long hug. Right? These are the people that you share mutual support and respect with. They show up for you and you show up for them in meaningful ways that are never expected, but are always appreciated. Your friendly few might include family, like siblings or grandparents or cousins, even some super cool and dependable aunts or uncles. They could be friends that have shared interests with you, your gym buddies, your mom friends, your work friends. They could be your trusted colleagues. These aren't the Susies from accounting that you only see at work events. They're the ones that you actually grab lunch with or pop into their office to chat when you have some downtime, or you bring a coffee to when you're out. They could be collaborators in your career or your creative projects. If you're an entrepreneur like me, they're the amazing people that I've partnered with on workshops and retreats. They get to bring their gifts, and I get to bring my gifts, and we get to share everything together. Your friendly few have earned a place in your life as true partners. You may not share your deepest secrets with them, but you trust them and you value their presence. So take a minute to reflect on who are the people in your life that you consider your real friends that you can put down in this ring? Who shows up for you in meaningful ways, not just when it's convenient? Who do you share your joys and your challenges and your passions with? These are your friendly few. They're your partners in life. They're people you can trust and rely on to walk next to you, offer you support, give you some laughter, and create some connection. So grab your worksheet and start plotting the names of the people that go beyond surface level connections. The ones who would help you move, or maybe even move a body. They may not be as close as your core crew, but they really do play an essential role in your support system. And once you've identified your friendly few, we're going to move outward to the next ring, to what I like to call the abundant acquaintances. So, abundant acquaintances is where we often get caught using the F word when we really shouldn't. Not that F word, the friend word again. We toss it around so casually that sometimes it really loses its meaning. But let's be real, not everyone we say is a friend actually is a friend. That's why we have another ring labeled abundant acquaintances, because these connections are plentiful, but they're not the same as friendships. These are people you interact with casually, the ones you ask, "How was your weekend?" without really needing a full answer, the ones maybe you fist pump or handshake or pat on the shoulder as you pass by. The ones at that Super Bowl party that you're having, they might be invited. Maybe if you wanted to get to know them better, or because you like their vibe, or because they're super close with some of your core crew or your friendly few, but you wouldn't be surprised or upset if they didn't show up at all. And if they do come, they are probably the ones bringing the chips and salsa, and they are probably the ones leaving at halftime. You might give these people a quick side hug on occasion. You like them enough, and you might know a little bit about their lives, maybe their kids' names, or that they prefer dogs over cats, but it's really nothing too deep. This is where boundary lines can start to blur. And this is the ring where we can find ourselves easily overextending and where we might forget that these people don't get the same access to us or to our time, energy, and resources as our friendly few or our core crew. Okay. So some examples of abundant acquaintances are the work colleagues. This is Susie in accounting, right? This isn't your go-to collaborators or your lunch buddies. These are the ones that maybe you chat at with team meetings or you pass by in the hallway, right? These are people from clubs or teams or kids events that we might occasionally connect with or go out to dinner with as a group. These are new introductions that we haven't fully connected with yet, or maybe other couples or friends that you see your friends with often. Or these could be the ones you enjoy working with, but you're not inviting to your 50th birthday party. These abundant acquaintances are valuable to us because they help us feel connected and engaged with the world around us. But we just have to be sure that we don't treat these relationships as intimately or get as emotionally invested in them as we do with those in our other inner rings. If we do, we're really risking overextending ourselves emotionally and energetically. And that leaves us feeling very deprived with less space in our lives for the people, places, and things that matter most to our feel good life vision. This imbalance can drain us and prevent us from fully nurturing the relationships and the priorities that really align with our values and bring us the greatest joy. Since these people are abundant, you don't have to list them all on your worksheet. Same goes for the next rings of social strangers as well. But if you do decide to fill them in, these are the people that you're going to find scrolling through your phone, on Facebook or Instagram, or even just in your memory. Really think about the description and remember, this isn't about judgment. This isn't about me saying, oh, she's going to acquaintances because she did this. It's really about clarity for you so that you can see where people in your life fit right now and you can start to recognize patterns in how you're going to allocate your time and energy and create boundaries and flexibility so that you know what rings are available when your current relationships need to be moved further away from your inner circles in order to establish that stability for our emotions, right? And so that we can stay on our docks. So the ring after acquaintances, like I said, is called social strangers. And these are the people you recognize, but you don't really know. Maybe you wave at them or you smile at them in passing. It could be like the barista at Starbucks who knows your order by heart. You walk in and it might be nice that she yells at you, hey, venti decaf mocha cappuccino with whipped cream. Or the mailman who's friendly enough to say hello and maybe walk the mail up in a snowstorm. Or even those work friends that you interact with occasionally, or like the chiropractor that you see every now and then, or the neighbor you say hi to but never really invite inside, or the super nice new family that just moved to town and you've seen the mom on the bleachers of the football games, right? Social strangers are a huge part of our lives, but in small passing ways. They're familiar faces that are friendly enough, but not the people we're going to open up to if our favorite aunt passes away or we're thinking of filing for bankruptcy. They don't get the invite to our Super Bowl party, and they never would expect to. Even if they're friends with us on social media and can see our pics after the night's over, these are the people that are not going to be insulted, right? These are the people that know that they are on the outskirts of our social life. And that's why we're kind of calling them social strangers. And then beyond the social strangers, we have unlimited unfamiliars. And then we also have dangerous deviants. So the vast majority of people in the world are unlimited unfamiliars, which is why They're unlimited, right? These are just people we don't know and who don't know you. They're completely outside of our social circles entirely, but they exist, but they don't really fit into any of our intimacy rings at all. And that's the same with the very outer edge, which is the dangerous deviance. The difference between the two is sometimes the dangerous deviants are people we have actively interacted with, and now we have to avoid them, or we've removed them from our lives because we realize that they're toxic, or they pose so much of a threat to our emotional or physical well-being that they can't have any access to us at all. So those are the relationship rings. I hope you can see that understanding these rings can help you manage your relationships. After hearing this lesson, you can probably see that there are acquaintances that you might be treating like friends, or friends who are really just acquaintances, right? Maybe you realized how much time, energy, and resources you're pouring into people in rings that might not give you anything back to help balance your cup. Maybe knowing this information could show you how these resources might be better spent elsewhere in helping you create that feel good life that you want. Can you see how plotting your current relationships and seeing where everyone fits allows you the freedom to set the right boundaries and allocate your energy and protect your peace? I hope you can. Your homework is that you're going to answer a lot of these questions, and you're going to reflect um, on where everybody ended up when you plotted them in the relationship rings. And once you've identified where everybody fits, we're going to take this another step further and work together to show you how to be the ringmaster and move people around to create the most peaceful relationships you have ever imagined. So in our next lesson, we're going to take this all that step further, and we're going to define exactly how and why people will be moved in and out of each of your circles. Because remember, a boundary is not a wall, right? This is where we're going to start crafting your own personal boundaries that are grounded in core values like reliability and accountability and confidentiality and integrity and compassion and generosity. That's why we spend so much time with our values. And we're going to do that by diving into Brene Brown's Braving Framework. That's what we're going to use to help us explore how all of our values play a role in where we place these relationships. But more importantly, we're going to uncover how the values really empower us to navigate the connections with intention and grace from this point forward. No more worry or guilt or fear for your desire to feel seen, heard, or valued is going to exist in your life. You're not going to feel bad about expressing what you need and why you need it anymore, because plotting these rings is just the beginning. The real transformation is going to happen when we learn how to maintain, adjust, or release relationships in a way that aligns with our feel good vision. So for now, take the time to reflect on what you learned today and answer the questions in your worksheet and fill in your rings. As you do this, pay attention to where you feel clarity and where you might feel some tension. I remember when I did this exercise the first time, it felt really uncomfortable putting people in further out rings than I had thought of them for so much of my life. But these are the areas that give you the most valuable insights into where your biggest boundaries or expectations are going to need some attention. I cannot wait to hear what you untangled after listening to this lesson. Let's get those names plotted so that we can move forward with purpose, clarity, and the tools we need to create the relationships we want that truly support and enhance our feel good lives. Thanks, everyone.